Hey guys, what's up? It is Kat here, and I am here tonight. It is 2:30 in the morning, but I just got back from viewing The Batman, the long-awaited. But I wanted to film my initial thoughts about this film, because if I sat down to write out a full script and really type out like an essay of how I felt about this movie, it would be a while. It's a long film. I would probably go on for too long, so I wanted to instead just collect a few of my immediate thoughts. There are definitely highlights of this film. I think the biggest one being Robert Pattinson's performance. I mean, I hope that man took a vacation after production wrapped. But yes, without further ado, let us just jump right into it, because honestly, that is what this film does. It surprisingly opens with what I found to be a really strange and shocking introduction to the film, which is a narrated monologue from Robert Pattinson, which I found was kind of different. Not really what we're used to when it comes to superhero personas, Batman's in particular. I don't know, I think Batman especially is a very mysterious character, at least in previous renditions of Bruce Wayne and the Batman persona that we've seen. It seems like he very much tries to keep things internalized so that he can just put on the mask and do what needs to be done. So when right out of the gate we hear Robert Pattinson kind of reading like what sounds like a journal entry, I don't know, that just felt really vulnerable to me, and I thought, okay, this is going to be interesting because it immediately suggests that we are going to learn more about the internal dialogue of not just Bruce Wayne, but he's writing as the Batman, and it becomes very evident almost immediately that he's more so Batman at this point than even Bruce Wayne. He's more Bat than man. It was interesting to hear him describe that he has to like journal and recollect his thoughts and just kind of recap what he did that night, because in a way he just like blacks out and he needs to like pull his contact lens out, which I thought was again super cool. That was something different, and it was a really interesting aspect of the film, being able to like see, you know, him going through basically like his vlog of the day. But yes, I was very satisfied with the fact that essentially right out of the gate it's immediately evident that he is more Batman than Bruce Wayne, and it continues to show for the remainder of the film where he is predominantly the Batman. I love that that's the place where we start versus, you know, we see him teetering between trying to balance the lifestyle of Bruce Wayne and Batman and trying to hide that secret, when in reality, no, we are at a point now where Bruce Wayne is a hermit who does not show his face to the world, and everybody knows it, and it's just Batman all day, every day, 24/7. I mean, he doesn't eat, he doesn't sleep, he is just constantly the Batman with his eyeliner. Like, he's just ready to go at any second. That in itself, I think, was a ideal starting place in terms of going forward from there with the character development, knowing that he's already pretty much enveloped in this Bat persona, this lifestyle, and he's pretty much like doing the majority of the work for the Gotham Police Department. That again is pretty much established at the beginning of the film. So right out of the gate we have already character development insinuating that Bruce Wayne is taking the back seat in his own life to become the Batman, which again is interesting because in a way Bruce Wayne in this film becomes the more mysterious character than the Bat himself. You don't really get to learn about Bruce Wayne until you're over halfway through the film. He becomes the hermit, and that is what surprised me, but I loved about this version of the Batman, because he pretty much is just going out in public, showing his face wherever. He's just showing up to the club, like just knocking on the door. Like, there's no theatrics about his arrival, really. Like, obviously there are very cool moments, like his first initial intro into the film, exciting, but in terms of him showing up, he just shows up. Like, he's not shy. It was interesting because it's like he's not even trying to keep up the mystique of his persona. Like, he's not trying to hide, and he knows that anyone who comes for him, like, he's gonna take them down. We don't necessarily get any backstory as to why he's so skilled when it comes to hand-to-hand combat in this film, but I mean, it's very satisfying seeing him pretty much. You can trust that he literally can handle anything that comes his way. You get a lot of his perspective in this film, particularly in the way that he draws attention, because no matter where he goes, whether he is the Batman or Bruce Wayne, he's drawing attention. The parallels of the ways in which he, no matter what, cannot leave the house without garnering some sort of attention. Again, really contributed to his character because you can tell he just doesn't care. Like Robert Pattinson's Batman, he brings so much intensity to it without even trying. Like, he has little to no effort, yet he is still so intense and serious. And again, it's very evident that he doesn't give Moral of the story is Robert Pattinson's performance is so subtle and so well done because he is not making an effort to be scary. And if anything, you can kind of tell that it upsets him that people are so fearful of him when he's just trying to do his thing. But yes, even seeing the parallel of Gordon, for example, I loved that they had such an involved relationship in this film, and it's very clear that Gordon is not only buddies with him, but he like trusts the Batman fully, even if he can't explain himself. But then seeing him like with Bruce Wayne in public when they are at the funeral and it's a public gathering and Gordon's trying to like share and divulge like private information about the district attorney going missing, and Bruce Wayne's over there like eavesdropping in the corner, and Gordon he barely even turns around to like fully make eye contact with him. Like that, it's just so interesting. Like that scene alone, knowing that he can't take any credit for any of this, and that at the end of the day he's doing so much for the city, yet nobody sees him, nobody sees any of this. He reaps no rewards, and if anything, people think that he has just like abandoned the city. That alone does so much to show like the internal conflict of his character, but I think why it just motivates him even more. I found myself asking several times throughout the film, like, why does he care so much? And yes, he has this deep-rooted anger and hatred and like angst, but he perhaps tries to veil that as, oh, I'm just trying to like do good for the city. But we even see that at the very end, he gives himself that little stim. He gives himself a stim, and then he comes back just like absolute full-blown rage mode, to the point that everybody is alarmed and shocked and like, who even are you? And I feel like that's a little bit of his true colors coming through. Like at the end of the day, he is essentially fueled by residual like just hatred. Robert Pattinson, I'm sorry that anybody ever doubted him. I certainly didn't. I've been a stan of his since I was in 5th grade, despite the fact that when I learned that there was a new Batman film, potentially series, in the works, I was just like, how many Batmen do we need, honestly, as a society? Haven't we reached the cap by now? But then they dropped, oh, it's Robert Pattinson, and I thought, never mind, I revoke that statement. I will take it. Give me all of it. And I just have to commend him because he really made this character his own. There were points where he was vulnerable and angry, and you could even see moments when he was fearful. And even with Bruce Wayne, there were sad boy moments. He's a bit edgy and like goth and like, I don't know, it was what I was hoping for from his performance, and he brought it. To Zoe Kravitz, what can I say other than can I please be you? Like, such a boss queen. She was phenomenal in this film. I feel like it's hard to stand up next to Robert Pattinson's performance in this, but she certainly did it. She did incredible. I think honestly this is like the best performance I have seen from her. It wasn't forced in any way, I feel like, but she was just inherently like his equal. I could trust that anything that came at her, she was just gonna kick them in the face with her heels, and like she could handle herself. Again, I was mentioning Jeffrey Wright, but I mean, he's literally phenomenal in everything that he touches. We all know like he is a master at the craft of acting, so he was wonderful. I'm looking forward very much to, I believe there is going to be a spin-off series on HBO Max, correct? Of him and Penguin's characters. Speaking of Colin Farrell, oh my gosh. There were numerous numerous occasions where I found myself watching, and yes, he had a lot of prosthetics on, but I just, his personality, his everything, like his mannerisms, I forgot I was watching Colin Farrell. He did a stellar job, and I honestly wish that he had more screen time, frankly, but the car chase between him and the Batman was just so well done. One of the best car chases in history, if you ask me. I don't even have the words to describe Paul Dano's performance as the Riddler in this. It stole the show for me. He is very mysterious, very in the shadows. You don't know his identity. We see just these very creepy, weird, unsettling, like just snippets of him from these live streams and these videos that he is sending out into the public that are going viral to incite fear. Oh my goodness, like his performance. And then finally that satisfaction when they get him at the end. I was satisfied because I was just like, okay, yes, we need to dive more into this character. I want to hear from him. I want to see him. Like, you're just like, show me his face by that point. Oh my God, it's so rewarding. But in the fact that it's not only rewarding for the audience, but for the Riddler himself. He is just as excited for that encounter with the Batman as we are. He's like, I've been dreaming of this. I was enthralled. That performance, it left me wanting so much more. It was phenomenal. And that scene alone, his encounter when the Batman comes to visit him at Arkham, and he just lays it all out because he's just been waiting to share this, and he in his mind is fully convinced that everything that he is doing is perfectly fine, and that if anything, he is doing the city a favor by ridding it of the, corrupt people within positions of power. A lot of this film was unnerving and unsettling and just very creepy, like almost like scary at times, like on the edge of your seat, like nervous, like what is going to happen. But a lot of that revolved around Paul Dano as the Riddler and these live streams that he did. And this is a bit random, but for once I felt like they did a great job of establishing Gotham as its own city rather than just a renamed version of New York. And perhaps that's because they did film a bit in London, I do believe I read previously, but the grittiness, the just grunginess, like everything. I loved how dark this version of Gotham was, and it felt like a different place necessarily that maybe didn't exist in our own world. So the color grading, the cinematography, at first I found myself, it was very perplexing because it was almost reminiscent of Dune. It had a lot of incredible wide shots, but there were also a lot of like very blurred close up, like detailed shots to the point where often, like, I bet there are several times where you could stop the film and take a screenshot and you wouldn't know what you're looking at. Like, it would look almost like an abstract artwork because that's how zoomed in it is. And I found that to be very out of the norm for these like superhero style films and those types of shots. And I was questioning, like, what's with all these like super close-up shots on like details and whatnot. But as the movie progressed, I felt like it started to just kind of mimic like the Batman's, like, his own obsession and fixation. And I don't want to use the word obsession lightly because I know there's a lot of weight to calling somebody like you have an obsessive personality, but that's what I got, like, from his portrayal and his attention to detail and his just kind of like hyper awareness, and that he's pretty much like the smartest one in any room that he goes into, like, and it's because he is just like laser beamed into like everything to the point that I can't help but use the word like he is obsessed. In a way, it began to make sense. All of these like close-up detailed shots kind of mimic, I don't know, the way that he's going around like seeing everything. This film did a wonderful job of begging the question, what do you have to sacrifice in the name of being heroic? And in this case, it's very much like Bruce Wayne's own identity, like, is what he is forsaking. Like, I would say that the only qualms I had with the film is that there were several occasions where I thought, okay, the movie's gonna end now. Okay, it's gonna end now. Like, this is definitely a long film and you can feel it a little bit by the end. Again, perhaps that was my fault for going to like a 10 p.m. showing, but I'm not saying it felt long, like it was boring and like I was waiting for it to end. It just, there were several times where I thought it was gonna be over and then there were still like a couple scenes left. But then at the same time, I'm like, yes, it is 3 hours and it feels like 3 hours, and that's even still with pretty much every scene being occupied with the Batman. Like, he had probably no breaks on set. Robert Pattinson, he is literally in every single scene, with maybe the exception of like 1 or 2. No scene is wasted. There's not a second where you're like really bored or thinking, all right, this is slow. Like, everything, even the slower, more conversational scenes of dialogue, like for example his confrontation with Alfred, who I was hoping that Andy Serkis was going to be in the movie a little bit more, but again, even a slower scene like that is more focused on character relationship and the dialogue, it's pivotal to the plot. And yes, as much as it did feel like a full 3-hour film, for how highly anticipated this film has been, and considering it had already been pushed back, it felt like, yeah, like, why not? Like, why not have a 3-hour long movie? If it's gonna be good, then why the heck not? And that's exactly what I would say about this film. It is 1000% worth the hype, worth the wait, even just for the performances alone from, honestly, the ensemble of the entire cast. But at the end of the day, I think Robert Pattinson, he carries this movie like on his shoulders, and he did a phenomenal job coming into a role with so many people questioning, like, why do we even need another Batman? Me being one of them. Like, how many Batmen do we need? He did an incredible job of proving that there is still so many other facets and layers to this character of vulnerability, and honestly questioning your own identity, and is it worth it to forsake that in the name of, you know, being the hero, when at the end of the day people might not even fully respect you or want you there. But yeah, that is gonna be it from me today, guys. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, so I'm gonna just say a quick goodbye and peace on out. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have seen the Batman, let me know your thoughts below. Do you agree? Was this worth the wait for you? How did you feel about the length? But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I am gonna go, so without further ado, I don't know what to say for Batman. I'm vengeance, and I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Alright, I gotta go to sleep. Okay, bye.